Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Now, as boxing fans, we see some strange things, but not many will top some of the action that's been in the heavyweight division today. Vlad Sirenko vs. Andriy Rudenko looks like an obvious fixed job. Also, Aleksandr Ustinov seemed to be in a fixed job versus Ivan Dychko in Kazakhstan. Both ended in strange and bizarre circumstances, but the Sirenko one, that really takes the cake. This is one of the most bizarre endings to a fight that I think I have ever seen. So we'll take ourselves to the 6th round of that fight. A fight in which Vlad Sirenko was winning, but clearly after about the 4th or the 5th round, he was starting to look a little fatigued. He was looking to the ref to intervene more, especially around holding, that sort of stuff. He was looking like he was starting to tire. He did have the sort of the early success against Andriy Rudenko and was clipping him in those first couple of rounds, but he started to come back to the pack a little bit after about round 3 because he had exerted a lot of energy. He does work with a lot of movement, a lot of jabs, a lot of punches thrown, a lot of short shots, but fast forward to round 6. He lands a short uppercut on the inside against Andriy Rudenko, who eats it, is not hurt. The referee steps in, waves it off. And I can't believe what I'm seeing. I'm like, what is going on here? What's just happened? I thought maybe it could have been for holding. Maybe he was going to be disqualified because he had been warned and deducted a point earlier in the fight. And gotta say, when he was that point was taken in the 4th round, it was exceptionally harsh. But this was not the case because he walks over to the side of the ring and exclaims, TKO. So this fight was stopped because apparently Rudenko was in no fit state to continue. He was effectively knocked out. He was stopped by Vladislav Sirenko. And we're talking about an uppercut, which was a nice shot. It landed. But Rudenko didn't seem buckled, didn't seem phased, didn't seem hurt, didn't seem anything. He was continuing to fight for the next couple of seconds as the referee steps in and waves it off. Absolutely bizarre. I'm talking about, this is one of the weirdest stoppages I've ever seen, and it screams obvious fix because you just had to sort of see what happened and the way the referee ended that. There was something super dodgy about that. And what made it worse, and it made it basically me go, yeah, this was some sort of fix or something dodgy had happened here, was Andriy Rudenko did not complain. Not one peep. He basically went back to his corner and did not say a word. How suspicious is that? Not just the stoppage, but the reaction to the stoppage. If Andriy Rudenko was fit to continue, any reasonable sort of fighter who was having some success in the fight, sure, he was behind on the cards, but it wasn't a beating that he was, wearing from Sirenko. He was being outworked and outlanded overall, but he'd had good rounds 4 and 5. And it did seem to be one of these cases, and I'd said ahead of this fight, if this goes into the second half of the fight, Rudenko, who's notoriously durable, he will be able to pose a good test for Sirenko. That he can push him a bit more in those later rounds and give him some rounds, some activity. But this, bizarre. Absolutely bizarre, and I think this needs investigating, clearly, because one of the worst and strangest stoppages you'll ever see. I was sat there going, what the hell is going on? And I'm not going to say what I said in my tweet on Twitter, but if you want to find out, you can obviously go there and go to my handle at Boxing Squared, and you'll see I was venting my feelings about that stoppage. Absolutely bizarre. I've had to dial it back here for YouTube, but I couldn't believe it. And we're talking about a fight that Vlad Sirenko looked okay in, but it was a very workmanlike performance. He didn't really get out of first gear. He had some success early with his jab, with the left hand in the first round or two, landing some hooks. And then from the second round on, he started to go for a few more short uppercuts, right uppercuts, and that was good scoring shots. But he was, starting to just dialed back a bit on the activity and wasn't having as much success rounds 4 and 5, where Rudenko was trying to land a right hand. He was making it tough and awkward and gritty, trying to get in there, make it sloppy, trying to use his weight on Sirenko, hold, spoil. And this is why the referee jumped in round 4 and gave him a point out of nowhere for holding. And until that point, there hadn't been much holding, so it seemed exceptionally harsh. And given what happened later, another red flag. But yeah, so Sirenko wins, he remains unbeaten, gets another stoppage, but fishy, fishy, fishy. And then we're going to go to Kazakhstan, so a card there, Ivan Dychko, however you want to say it. He was facing Aleksandr Ustinov, as we know. Ustinov is a very faded force, 45 years old, hasn't been a contender for a number of years. He'd been taking pastings and beatings. Last time out, he was iced in a round by Vlad Sirenko, actually, funnily enough. But in this fight, so he's eating some jabs, eating some right hands from the taller Dychko, and that was the case for the first round, just basically couldn't stay out of the way of punches. Fast forward through that first round, there's a shot to the body, just a jab to the body. Aleksandr Ustinov partially sort of buckles, and not a huge jab, not a power jab, just a jab, and he looks uncomfortable for a moment, and he recovers, he starts to circle off. His cornerman gets up to the ring apron, throws in the towel. Absolutely bizarre. Almost like they had money on this fight ending in the first round or something. And you might sort of say, well, Ustinov, you know, he's a risk to getting knocked out, to getting damage and that sort of stuff. But this seemed very suspicious, very fishy. He wasn't really hurt. Sure, it's boxing. You've got to take some shots. You're going to be uncomfortable. But he wasn't in danger of being stopped in the next few seconds or anything like that. But the towel came in. So this is another suspicious ending, the second of the day, and I might have just written this off slightly as they've just stolen a payday, and that's how I sort of described it on Twitter, that actually they've turned up here, they've stolen a payday. But also you have to consider there's betting markets and other considerations with this. Who's put money on this to end in the first round? Because they would have done nicely out of that. And obviously Sirenko and the other Rudenko, that fight ending in round 6, who's to say there wasn't huge amounts of money on that fight for that round as well? But we need to see the end of Aleksandr Ustinov, because that was disgraceful. He needs to be out of the sport, retire, because if you're going to do that and turn up and basically the first moment of adversity where he just grimaced a little bit, slightly sort of folded over, obviously an uncomfortable shot, and the corner throws the towel in. Ridiculous. I mean, I can't believe what I've seen today. Absolute garbage. And people wonder why boxing is considered a joke. Because you have fights ending like this, these two examples, and it's deeply suspicious. And people going, hey, this is all just choreographed in a joke. What do you make of it all? Absolutely ridiculous. I'm sort of a bit all over the place here with my comments, but I'm sort of seething here in my little office, in my little corner of the world here in New Zealand, watching these fights going absolute garbage. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.